Hey, Doc, how are you? Okay, I guess I'll be on the screen in a moment. Always great to have you here, Doc. A moose. Okay, I'm on camera now. And I'll stay a little bit plugged into this while we see who shows up. I was looking for the Pistis Sophia, one of the books in the Nag Hammadi library. Somebody was reading a little. I was listening to a video where somebody was reading from it, and I went, "Nah, I think I'd like to go through it." He didn't get too far. And I'm really surprising. I'm quite sure it's in this mix. Where the heck is it? And I actually was looking for it before the show started. And then also I was, oh, it's not 9 o'clock, better get going. All right. I guess I'll find it at some point. Anyway. Hey, Lee. Salutations. Well, it was, he was reading from, he's reading from some of it, and it's just, you can really hear the kind of like the Lego set building of some of the concepts. I just wanted to go through all of it because I know a lot of the good stuff is in there. I mean, the good stuff is all over the Nag Hammadi texts. It's just so interwoven. You got to pull out threads. There is just so much Levantine content in that, and also I don't know. That's why I want to read it more, because it really seems like it really wasn't written by initiates, because initiates wouldn't be mixing the two different belief systems. I mean, there to me the real Gnostic message, and then of course you have the Abrahamic message. And when I haven't read one piece in the Nag Hammadi text that wasn't a mix of both. Hey, Doc, the PhD Doc. Yeah, well, if you look in the chat, you're going to see I started with greetings, Moosh started with greetings, so it must be a greetings kind of night, and that's a nice kind of a night. We are getting down. Today is Monday, so we got 1, 2, 3 more days before the new moon. Another new cycle to build. Hello, Mari. And afternoon greetings to you as well. I know, afternoon in Australia. So anyway, there's I will get to it right now. I'm rolling a cigarette. There's one particular person, somebody who appears to be on the path. Certainly trying, I guess, giving Gnostic thought the personal sniff test. If you look in my comment section, you'll see, at least after, I think it's after the last video. Hello, Jessica. After the last video I put up, she posted a number of questions. Her name, I think, is Laura, something Luna. Actually, I did queue up my comment so I don't have to guess. Moon Luna is her name. And of course, I did check out you know, she does have a YouTube. She does make videos, which is something I always like to see. If somebody does, you know, if somebody's commenting and stuff, and then you see that they're actually not just. I mean, so many people, you know, you go to the comments is the only place they express themselves on YouTube. But this is this young lady. I think she seems to be a young lady. I did watch one of her videos. Has put out a number of YouTubes, and she's on the path. She's got a lot of questions. I did see some of her YouTubes apparently were discussing questions of Islam and Christianity, and from what I can gather, I think she's a Pakistani, which would most likely mean that she was raised, most likely be that she was raised in a Muslim family. Doesn't have to be, but most likely. But she does, she certainly asked questions that I wouldn't mind tackling. I mean, with the ones that I think what might produce some fruit for us collectively. Okay, so I'm coming back to the chat for a moment. Oh, I like that. Rainbow ring around the sun. Well, Doc, again, I'm not going to, I wouldn't contest where you're coming from. I know you've spoken it very well, and when I listen to, I love listening to what you have to say, because it's from your heart. It's authentic, and that's really beautiful. I really enjoy that. And again, to me, once at least we start dancing with Sophia a little bit, or the mother a little bit, a process has begun. It's just about, including her in our cosmic dance. Because from my perspective, she's the project manager. And one of the projects is getting the archontic influence off of this planet. Boy, it's gonna be quite a task. If you've ever tried to strip old shellac off of a piece of wood, I know how long that can take. That would seem like a really easy task compared to removing what holds this really dysfunctional world in place. So let's see. Moon Luna, what do I have? Well, she gave me a happy belated birthday. That was sweet. Hope someone cared to visit you while you were ill. You seem better now. That's good to see. Very sweet stuff. Okay, so then she writes, okay, if I keep John Lash's work separate from the man, then can someone please explain to me what is his Kalika War Party is about? Okay, English I don't think is her first language, but she still writes well. Okay, so explain what is this Kalika War Party about? And also, why has he been talking about violence, killing, and death magic? Or am I misunderstanding that? What is in the purpose there? And if the Kalika War Party and violence, killing, death magic has Mother Gaia Sophia's blessing, thanks in advance. That was probably the most challenging question she wrote. Let me see if anybody... Yeah, Raksha, part of that Gnostic religiosity comes because of the religious insertion into Gnostic thought that we find in the Nag Hammadi text. That's my opinion. I use the myth as something to live in, and then it comes alive, and then it becomes dynamic and personalized. And the whole idea of being a mystic is to create that personal relationship. And then it's kind of like, you have yours. You just obviously certain stuff you can share with others, things that you bring to the campfire. But some of the stuff is kind of, it's a little pretty personal. I mean, it's a personal relationship. So some of what you'll get is for you and your unique understanding and relationship. And I will get back to the question Luna asked. I have to admit, one of the things that has really excited me a bit was listening to Walter Bosley. He's had a few interviews. He had the one on Nox Mente, and then there was another interview he did with somebody I never heard of. And he brings up Hecate again. Some people call it Hecate. I actually looked up her name, and in Greece the accent is over the ka sound, so it would be Hecate, which feels more powerful than Hecate also, and she is potent. But anyway, Walter Bosley has brought her up a few times in his latest talks, so obviously it's meant for him to be putting this stuff out. Yeah, it was Den of Lore. Thank you, Lee. I'm pretty sure it was. As I've said before, Lee and I often find each other in similar live chats. We seem to be attracted to similar smells, even if it is the smell of Rex Bear and Leak Project, which has a very unique odor. Rex Bear is always good for a laugh. Sometimes just looking at the thumbnails of his video, he wears all these different masks. He's quite the entertainer. Okay, I was going somewhere, but I got lost. Oh yeah, about the Gnostic thought. Yeah, and yeah, it's religiosity is definitely something we always want to avoid. Okay. Let me see. So there's some good comments coming through here, too. And, of course, Doc Illusion is helping. Oh, does she ever love us? Oh, my God, does she love us? Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting that even though in my body, although since I've been celibate for a few years and the T levels have dropped, I don't feel quite as male in my body as I used to. But I used to, feel quite male in my body, and I still do. Crossing my legs has its strategies, but it's interesting, and even though I'm aware of, well, I guess called male deiforms, I don't know, there's a lot of dynamism with the mother that is just, I guess, after some year, the first almost 2 decades of my life spent in one system, and then a few decades of wandering, and then before the full immersion in like 2010, she just really feels so good. Oh, that's right. I better put this in my owl cup so it doesn't look like I'm drinking from Damon Wayans' pickle jar. Got some old lemon pulp sitting there. I think it's starting to ferment. Gonna make some lemon wine. So anyway, I'm gonna get back to Luna's question, because I think this, when if those of us who have really enjoyed the teaching of John Lash, when and he mentioned the Kalika War Party almost a year or so. You know, he mentioned it a while back, and you know, you see a little bit, and then you start seeing some of the Kalikas, and when they post and reply to other people, and you realize what it's really a feral group. The only thing I can really say is that, you know, look, John has put out the teachings. I really do hope he'll get to what he said he will be teaching next, which is naked eye astronomy. It does have, and it is a divinatory tool. It would appear to be that's one of the ways the mother can speak. If you can read the sky and even haven't made necessarily, maybe not the deep kind of shaman's connection to her, that her intent is written in the sky constantly. And he has just this brilliant, well, apparently he's managed to retrieve it. And I'm quite sure he used quite a bit of his own shamanic abilities to retrieve it. And I'm really looking forward to it. That's what he said he would be teaching next, and I think that will just be awesome. But apparently, I mean, look, we have a real infection problem on our planet. It's no joke, and it does need to be addressed. And he's addressing it in a way that he thinks is appropriate. Do I think Gaia, or, you know, Sophia or Mother would stand in opposition to it? I can't imagine why T cells going out looking for pathogens would be something that she wouldn't bless. But again, there's a way this is being handled publicly that really seems to be about I will prove my magic to everybody who's listening. And I know it's not just my opinion. Almost any serious kind of other practicing magicians, shamans, mystics, call it what you will, there's a certain amount of activity that is, we're not private as in, you know, like you could have something that you have a private discussion with 10 people. It's still private. It's not public. And now I have noticed that spell went into effect weeks ago, if not over a month ago, and I haven't read any headlines about the target strangling, because that was part of the spell. By strangulation she will go was the final line. So she still seems to be breathing. So again, I have never spoken to John. John has only ever spoken to me. I mean, he and I have exchanged a few 2-sentence emails or something. So I just don't, it's very difficult for me to take somebody who's given so much to the Gnostic revival, that if he's going to do, I mean, I can say, like, I don't know about this, John. I certainly know I don't like talking about it publicly. I think that is, like, just wrong. And I do think it is fed by ego. And again, I don't know John, so I really want to be respectful in every way. But you know, I do hear him occasionally mention enjoying a tall glass of Stoli. I'm an alcoholic. I haven't had a drink since 2010, but I'm an alcoholic. I know alcohol language. And I also know when I drank what had access to me, because once I got sober and then I was able to reassess what had gone on with me during that period, I saw I was not alone. Oh, not alone at all. And that's the one little alarm bell that rings when I wonder if somebody does not regularly overuse alcohol, which opens portals that even the most gifted shaman cannot really manage. So, you know, if Luna, I don't know if you're listening. Maybe you'll listen to this. I would assume you probably not are present, but you might be listening to this. What is this Kalika war party about? It's what they're Kali. That's what, you know, they're Kalikas. So, you know, Kali is the you could say the seek and destroy aspect of the goddess. She's the immune system, the active, you know, like T killer cell immune system. But the whole immunocompetency of the training in the thymus gland for T killer cells is that they have the wisdom they need to proceed, and the will, the wisdom and the will. That's what blue green is about. And I just think there's something very off about it. Conceptually, like, you know, again, from being an organism, major infection needs to be taken out. I mean, there's nobody who doesn't take an antibiotic hoping it doesn't kill every single bug inside them. Nobody's going, oh, well, you know, maybe the bug doesn't mean to be bad. No, when you take an antibiotic, you want to wipe out. So, of course, the immune system is a lot more selective. And that's what, you know, that's what I would hope. So I'm troubled by what this Kalika War Party excursion. But it's him and what, 16 people as far as being active, and I just they need to do what they need to do, because they're, you know, look, they're playing in a magical world. Any of us who've ever played in that field know it plays back. So John's been quiet since he did his working, and I think part of it is because so far nothing has come of it, and to me, John being quiet is not a bad thing at all. Like I said, I wish he would start his next series, but I would like to think that this has been a time of introspection for him. And I can never do anything but hold him in my heart and wish and desire is a better word, the best for him. Okay, let me check out the live chat here. Did go off on a bit of a rant. Hey, Brandon Young, how are you? Greetings. Humble crowd today, but that's okay. Isn't it about the crow? No, the Kalika War Party. No, I have never heard any Grail affiliation with that. I saw demons once when I was drunk. Like, yeah. They don't call it spirits for nothing. It's a small party. As far as, you know, the active participants, as far as I know, I think they all live in Spain. Okay, let me get into my software. Come on. Okay, that's better. So anyway, I'm going to get back to some more comments. Okay, so that was one question from Moon Luna. The next one is I have read things about all those things you mentioned, but I would not mind you talking about it and giving us your sight into death, life, death, afterlife, rebirth, karma, etc., etc. I might have to give you my PayPal address, Moon Luna. My insight into life. I really feel that one of the reasons we come into this form, but even from a microbial level, is because the pleroma wanted to infiltrate the kenoma. The kenoma is the supposed, like the dead, just the kind of dead matter, dead, parentheses, quotation marks, whatever you want to say. Oh, I said just right, wait. Quotes is 2, and then 1 is, oh, what's that? Forgetting the term. I'll look in it. I bet you Rox will give it to me. All those, or maybe somebody else. But anyway, life. It's just, there they are in the pleroma, and they contrived this panspermia to spread out into the arms of the galaxy, also known as the kenoma in Gnostic. And it's quite sure it's a Greek word. Because there was no activity out there. It was almost like, everything's here and look at all this. So they packaged their ability to start quite humbly as a one-celled organism and then expand according to the environment until something like us arose. And then they could take ideas that they had in the pleroma that they would do if they were in the kenoma, and now they can do it if they have access to our hearts. So to me, life is really about waking up to your divinity within your own personality and doing that dance. Death? Well, death is when an organism can no longer support the spirit that it housed. Next. Afterlife. I think afterlives can vary. I think actually a Gnostic concept of the afterlife would, I think that's a place I might spend some time on. And before I go into that, I'm just going to check the live chat. Apostrophe. That was the word. Right, exactly. I knew you'd know. Not actually, most of the time I know, but okay. The Norse afterlife is for warriors. They got fun apparently ripping people's intestines out of their bellies. I could really pass on that kind of behavior. Anyway, I'm now following the live chat. So the afterlife. I think from a Gnostic perspective, and from even the concept of the pleroma seeding the arms of the galaxy, or the kenoma. I would like to use the kenoma more often. Seeding the galaxy with life through their panspermia. Sets up an interesting dynamic for an afterlife. One of my biggest issues with what I read or even hear, like I listen to Miguel Connor, he has Aeon Gnostic Bike Radio, and again, there's always this kind of getting back to pleroma. In other words, we go to heaven, and to me, that go to heaven, return to heaven, would not work with the initial strategy of why the aeons in the pleroma would stick their life force into a panspermia and put it out into the kenoma. To me, to kind of sprout and then run back home would seem like a very, I don't know, I think that there would be greater strategic depth in the mind of an aeon. That's just me. because I would have greater strategic depth than I'm reading from some of the concepts and thoughts expressed by some of the writers of the Nag Hammadi texts. And even when we think about traditional societies, and apparently some of them prior to the one life and judgment scenario, reincarnation was the de facto kind of observation. I mean, it was obvious to people. People would be born in villages. Remember, oh, I used to live over in that hut. So I think the concept of an afterlife for people who realize that we belong, we're part of this experiment unfolding on planet Earth. So it would seem to me that, again, as representatives of the aeons in biology, that the idea would be to hang around and create a really kind of like, aeonically inspired, beautiful world instead of the prison that we currently have. So I would think of, of an afterlife as being a place of meeting. It's almost, I don't know, let's imagine like a huge tent where everybody's hanging out. And then there's another smaller tent where you go and you do certain things. And you stay there until either your job is finished or your body gives out. And then you return to the big tent. I really see there it's meant that we're to have continuity, that even though a spirit dips in and out of physical bodies, there is there's a continuum. And being, as I would call it, on the graph of gnosis and freedom from a couple of thousand years ago has been going down, 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 down. There needs to be a reversal. And to me, people awakening to an earth-based consciousness, where the earth is our deity. That's, like in other words, Sophia is the project manager. And that's a unique situation in the galaxy according to Gnostic mythos. And so that puts us, those bodies on Earth, in a very unique setting. And I would like to read and hear more language that reflects the perception of our unique situation. And I don't get so far. Again, I got a lot to catch up with reading the Nag Hammadi text. But I don't get, that's the one thing that to me is glaringly missing. I'm quite sure I can find it in little pieces. I'm quite sure. I'll just have to take it off in little bites, because even I really get frustrated with that stuff. All right. So afterlife, rebirth. Well, I think I covered that. Karma. Okay. I think karma is a little more nuanced than we will get from, let's say, places that discuss it like Buddhism and Hinduism. And then also you kind of have, there are, I guess, the Puranas, which are more of the even pre-Vedic writings that are kind of like Aryan influence. Something happened in India that brought in the kings and the warriors, and of course, once kings and warriors show up, you're on a downward spiral. It's just how it goes. So I think there's a cause and effect, a natural cause and effect, that happens. So I think any kind of karmic concept would be natural. I mean, even I mean, I sometimes do things in a day, and then when I go down, I lay down, and I contact my higher self. I'll do some things that go, oh man, that was poor form, dude. And then if there's anything I can do to rectify it the next day, I go out and do everything I can to rectify that. And to me, that's kind of that's kind of like karma in action. But I think the consciousness of mistakes makes a difference. If we don't kind of consciously record a mistake, we might get the correction in a sloppier or less pleasantly received fashion than if we just had our own gnosis about our own behavior. And as far as etc., I think I did okay. You know, I shared my thoughts. Okay. Let's see what's going on in the live chat. Hey, hello, Niche. I'll make sure I didn't miss anybody. Bluebud Guitar. Hello, Bluebud. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what the thumbs down is this week. All right. So back to another question from Moon Luna. Also, this is a new comment. Also, how can we differentiate between the Archons, reptilians, and Anunnaki? Throwing them in the same pot, I mean, I think. Let's see. See, there are certain questions when they're asked. I mean, there are no dumb questions, but there are confused questions. And this is one of those, which is why the question's being asked. To me, our only concern is the archontic influence. Reptilians, Anunnaki. I mean, who were the Anunna? You know, obviously they were some advanced humanoid type of being. Could have been from this planet. I lean on that. Could be from other places. They had some. They were technologically advanced of whatever the hunter-gatherer type humans were. And reptilians, again, they're not much in number. It is the archontic influence, because the archontic influence is affects our psychology and then can affect our perception, because if they can get inside our psychology, that will affect our how we project reality, which will affect the quantum field, and so then you'll get the distortions. So I don't really think it's important to differentiate between Archons, Reptilians, and Anunnaki. I think it's important to understand what the Archons are, where they came from, how they influence our psychology, and knowing about that very Baroque mind. You know, they gave us their mind, is how Carlos Castaneda, no, actually it was Don Juan said that to Carlos Castaneda in those books. There's a couple of sentences that come from Carlos Castaneda book about what those sorcerers called the flyers. What they're calling the flyers are in fact the Archons. So again, there's no need to differentiate between reptilians, Anunnaki, and Archons, because again, the Anunnaki are historical. If they're around in a very different fashion, and they're mixed in with those hunter-gatherers. Again, reptilians are just not enough. Doesn't really matter. Archons are the problem. So we don't need to differentiate. We just need to know what the archontic issue is, and be on guard, and be constantly vigilant. Okay, another question from Moon Luna. Also, if Nag Hammadi scriptures are not to be taken literally, or there is more to the picture, then I would like to hear your insight and understanding on the myth or story of Sapphire on Mother Earth. Give us her story in your own words, please. You know what? I would be largely would be repeating what John Lash has already very eloquently written and spoken in many cases. So I have little extras because I've done my own journeying on it, but it's kind of like that would be commentary. So basically, the myth or story of Sapphire is told excellently by John Lamb Lash. And if you look, if that one, if it this is, it's like to me that he has really done a great service, and it's either take that or keep on walking. It's such a labor, such a labor that he did over decades, and it's amazing. Okay, another one. Then, how come Mother Earth is feminine? If she is androgynous, would you care to explain, please? I'm androgynous, but I'm currently in a male body. My spirit is androgynous. In my meditations, in my travels, in my journeys, I am an androgynous dragon. And I don't even think about any kind of gender identification in my being. But once I'm in some kind of a form, I do have a gender. I have a gender identification. We all do. And sometimes it's a little different. But so, and since she was part of a syzygy, which is the pairings of emanations that are described in many creation myths, she was the feminine counterpart to Thelete, who Thelete is also an androgyne. So we have to be a little more subtle and nuanced about concepts of gender, because gender is really just another one of the myriads of kind of yin yang dynamic polarity things. And so how Mother Earth is feminine? I mean, she always was the mother. Even in her pairing, she was the she part, and Thelete was the he part. Although, again, as spirits, I'm quite sure they didn't spend a whole lot of time about that. This is, if I had to say it very simply, this kind of questioning, this kind of small detail questioning, is very typical of the archontic, what the archontic mind does to it. It gets us detail oriented. It makes us hang up on things rather than be able to appreciate the whole story. And we don't get the whole story because as the whole story is coming to us, we get stuck on something, and then the rest of the screen disappear, and there we are hanging on something. So I would, so that's my best explanation. Again, there's a certain amount. There's only so much one can, I think, can share with somebody without them kind of, making a little effort on their part to come forward. And then the last question is: so Kali and Shiva are both aspects of Mother Earth. I don't think Shiva is an aspect of Mother Earth. And that's why Mother Earth gets. So there's Gaia, Sophia, and so anyway, I think I'm done with these. I hope Moon Luna, if you do watch this video, I do hope you thought I gave you some respect. I read every single one. And then there's Charles Williamson always gives a smile. All right, so that's kind of it. There's sweet things from Tamu and Kalendal and others. All right, what's going on in the live chat? Oh, hello, Tamu. I had just mentioned your name. All right. Boy, live chat's kicking tonight. I love it. Okay. I think that's very kind of you, Bluebird Guitar. How can anyone thumb me down? Yeah, immaturity seems like a good answer. And of course, good old envy and spite, you know, that kind of stuff. Hey, hey, Callan, how are you? Good to see you here. Got Tamu. Oh, what a really lovely crowd here. I love hanging out with you guys. I really do. I got a nice little package today. Somebody sent me 2 pumpkin breads. Here's the size as they arrived. And this is what's left of one of them after I had breakfast. It's so neat. I was even given a choice of, I don't know, some other thing or pumpkin bread. I just love pumpkin bread because I love pumpkin spices. Pumpkin spicing is just so warm, and I guess also, you know, it comes at the right time of the year when things are getting a little chilly, and then you have all those nice pumpkin spices. Quarantine, huh, Mari? Okay. So, I really wish, you know, something, you know, would be interesting. It's almost like click on a page, and we'll see what comes up. I'm in a Nag Hammadi PDF. The Book of Thomas the Contender. Okay. So one of the things I'd like people to, you know, for people to pay attention. If you all know, there's a certain kind of cadence and imagery that gets used in the Abrahamic style, or you know, the Yahwist style, and that is different than, like, you know, really older text. And this one starts out in that Levantine style. And it begins, the secret words that the Savior spoke to Judas, Thomas, which even I, Matthias, wrote down while I was walking, listening to them speak with one another. It wasn't so bad. The Savior said, Brother Thomas, while you have time in the world, listen to me, and I will reveal to you the things that you have pondered in your mind. Now, since it has been said that you are my twin and true companion, examine yourself, learn who you are, in what way you exist, and how you will come to be. Since you will be called my brother, it is not fitting that you will be ignorant of yourself. And I know that you have understood, because you had already understood that I am the knowledge of the truth. So while you accompany me, although you are uncomprehending, you have in fact already come to know, and you will be called the one who knows himself. For he who has not known himself has known nothing, but he who has known himself at the same time already achieved knowledge about the depth of the all. So then you, my brother Thomas, have beheld what is obscure to men, that is, what they ignorantly stumble against. Now Thomas said to the Lord, language, therefore I beg you to tell me what I ask you before your ascension, and when I hear from you about the hidden things, then I can speak about them. And it is obvious to me that the truth is difficult to perform before men. Ooh, is that a true statement? The truth is difficult to perform before men. People. The Savior answered, saying, if the things that are visible to you are obscure to you, how can you hear about the things that are not visible? If the deeds of the truth that are visible in the world are difficult for you to perform, how indeed then shall you perform those that pertain to the exalted height and to the pleroma, which are not visible? And how shall you be called laborers? In this respect you are apprentices, and have not yet received the height of perfection. Now, there is much in this language, in my opinion, that is very Gnostic. As we would hope to be finding it in the Nag Hammadi library. And part of that is basically the concept of apprentices, as opposed to an initiate. So that right away we're starting to read the language of initiation of the mystery schools. That language is being revealed in this dialogue here. Now Thomas answered and said to the Savior, tell us about these things that you say are not visible, but are hidden from us. The Savior said, all body, little blank spot, the beasts are begotten, blank, it is evident like blank, this too. So that sentence, I'll take the blanks out and read it to you, but if the sentence seems like, what was that sentence? It's a sentence with pieces missing. So that sentence read without me saying blank is, all bodies the beasts are begotten, it is evident like this too, those that are above, things that are visible, but they are visible in their own root, and it is their fruit that nourishes them. But these visible bodies survive by devouring creatures similar to them, with the result that the bodies change. Now that which changes will decay and perish, and has no hope of life from then on, since that body is bestial. So just as the body of the beast perishes, so also will these formations perish. Do they not derive from intercourse like that of the beasts? If it, too, derives from intercourse, how will it beget anything different? How will it beget anything different from beasts? So, therefore, you are babies until you become perfect. I'll finish reading. And Thomas answered, therefore I say to you, Lord, that those who speak about things that are invisible and difficult to explain are like those who shoot their arrows at a target at night. To be sure, they shoot their arrows as anyone would, since they shoot at the target, but it is not visible. Yet when the light comes forth and hides the darkness, then the work of each will appear, and you, our light, enlighten, O Lord. And Jesus said, it is in light that light exists. Thomas spoke, saying, Lord, why does the visible light that shines on behalf of men rise and set? The Savior said, O blessed Thomas, of course this visible light shines on your behalf, not in order that you remain here, but rather that you might come forth. And whenever all the elect abandon bestiality, then this light will withdraw up to its essence, and its essence will welcome it, since it is a good servant. Wow. I guess I'll give one more passage from the Savior. Then the Savior continued and said, O searchable love of the light, O bitterness of the fire that blazes in the bodies of men and in their marrow, kindling in them night and day, and burning the limbs of men and making their minds become drunk and their souls become deranged, them within males and females, night and moving them secretly and visibly. For the males move upon the females, and the females upon the males. Therefore it is said, everyone who seeks the truth from true wisdom will make himself wings so as to fly, fleeing the lust that scorches the spirits of men, and he will make himself wings to flee every visible spirit. Okay. Now, one of the words that I feel is misplaced in a Gnostic text is the concept of a savior. Salvation is an Abrahamic concept. It's part of salvationism. I am not on board on that. John Lash also rails against salvationism. That is actually that whole salvation concept. Salvation is a little bit different than reclamation. It comes with a certain amount of, well, accretions, I'll call it. So I'm gonna just stop there for a little bit because I'm not having the best time with this, and I'm gonna see what's going on in the live chat. Yeah, that's, I don't know why any religious people would watch me more than once. So, and, again, if somebody who, holds certain beliefs would find me offensive, I would like to think they would go that, thumbs down and I'm out of here. I mean, I don't, if I were felt moved to thumbs down somebody, and occasionally I do. But even when I do, a lot of times I'm like, nah. I don't know if I really want to be a dick. So more often than not, I'll just, if I can't put a thumbs up, I don't put a thumbs down. But every once in a while, somebody's kind of begging for one. And anyway, that's part of what, goes with willing to get on YouTube and say something. At least something authentic, because you'll invariably piss somebody off. It's especially in today's climate. People are really, I don't know. They seem to be just. There's so much butt hurt latency in the world today. But anyway, so that was a little piece from Thomas the Contender in the Nag Hammadi library, and So how's everybody been doing? Did you feel the change in the energy on February 2nd, Candlemas? For a second. I don't know if Nisha's still here. I've been doing some workings, and because I really got inspired by Walter Bosley and Hecate. And Big Mama's, Sophia's big Mama, Gaia. And then you have some aspects of her. And the Hecate aspect feels very accessible. It's almost if it is part of her function. Yeah, function's not the word I wanted. But how she interacts, I think she is kind of like more of an interactive part of Mama. Mama's got a lot of systems to manage. So I can see her creating some kind of avatar energy type, unique to a certain aspect. And of course, she does embody the you know, the triple goddess aspect of the maiden, the mother, and the crone. And love I love that depiction of the divine feminine. There's so much power in seeing, you know, the that gender in those three very uniquely different aspects of being in a female body. So anyway, last night, while I was in my bedroom doing some inner work, I went outside, because I go outside a lot, put my feet on the lawn. And last night was a warm night. It was like in the 50s Fahrenheit. And it had rained out, but it stopped raining. Clouds were starting to break up. So it was a little bit balmy out there. So I step out, and there's, here we are. We're still in early, just coming into mid-February. I am in Virginia, which isn't too far south. There are no, nothing is blooming yet. But after I had done my workings towards Hecate, I went outside, and as soon as I stepped outside, I was greeted with this wonderful floral scent. It took me a minute to put on my aromatherapy nose and pick out which it was. And it was largely lilac. And let me tell you, after, it's been a long time since there's been any kind of scent besides decaying leaves, a pleasant scent indeed. But any real scent of flowering nature has not been a part of Southwest Virginia for some months now. So to step outside last night and be greeted with like standing about a foot away from a lilac bush, and I moved around my backyard in a couple of places just to see if the scent would diminish, and it didn't. It stayed with me a long time. And I consider that a very powerful affirmation based on requests I had made during my working. It was very, very yummy. I also thought it was a hint. There seemed to be a little bit of a hint where, let's say, like, obviously an aspect of the mother sometimes will tie into some Venusian energy. I'm not crazy. The Venusian energy is a little bit because Venus is Gaia's stand-in. It's the archontic Gaian stand-in. But generally the rose would be associated with a kind of a Venus-y aspect. The fact that lilac was her signature spoke to me to a more mercurial and very much more of an androgyne kind of energy. And again, just like I perceive Sophia, androgyne, feminine. But Hecate, boy, Hecate feels really, really potent. But so, I would have to say, and I'll say it to you, I said it out loud in my backyard. That releasing of that scent as a kind of a confirmation. And what it evoked to me really made me feel in contact with something that knew me better than I know myself. And not only knew me better than I know myself, loved me more than I love myself. It was powerful. It was beautiful. It was inspiring. And I hope it was worth sharing for you. Actively working with the creator or beings that are involved in our care, development, and activity is important. And if you, I mean, I did a very, very, very sincere working last night, and I was confirmed shortly after that working. And it's anybody, if you listen to Gordon, hello, Robin. If you've ever listened to Gordon White and all the different kind of chaos magicians that he speaks with, and that's kind of his specialty, chaos magic. I'm not big into it, but they make sense. At least when Gordon is talking about his brand of magic, he makes sense, and he also will do things. He also understands that part of what you do is you do a working, and then you wait for the callback. You wait for your receipt. Good magic comes with a receipt. Well, even good bad magic comes with a receipt, but I don't think you want to sign for that. So I would, again, not from any kind of dogma or religious or anything like that, but just from, like, don't you want to play with her? Don't you want to play with Sophia or some aspect of her? I mean, really dance with the one who cares about us? The one who's been with us since before the earth was formed? And I feel that's, happens a lot. It happened with me in the early days, where you kind of make a certain connection, but you kind of don't, you're not quite as active sometimes. Because you feel the love, you know that you're not going to get in trouble for not paying attention. It's not like, oh, I haven't said my prayers. Am I going to hell? There's none of that nonsense. What's really kind of beautiful about it seems like, if you don't commune, you don't get kissed, or at least you don't get a nice wet kiss. And I think nothing would be more productive, especially when we're not exactly sure what to do with our hands, than to turn and search our mother out and find out how we want to dance with her. Especially with spring approaching, when her activity in the world and on the planet is so obvious. This might be, I just would like to, I guess, encourage people to explore that relationship. Explore the idea that the planet is alive. You see it in nature. Find out how much you can prove that to yourself. Go there. Communicate. Some people will get astounding results. I've been in enough different gatherings where, look, I'm always in one of the, kind of, who we think we are type of realm. And, you have mass gatherings, and, somebody could be really quiet, you wouldn't look at them twice, and then you do the exercise, and you go, any feedback, and then this quiet person, starts to speak, and you go, oh my, they really got it. And then you need to sit down and listen to them, because they got it. And boy, last year I wore my socks for a few of the cold months, but I'm barefoot now, and I've been barefoot except for just a few of the really, really cold days. And being barefoot is fun, you know, because you walk out on the lawn, you know, and on days that it's dry, you feel the grass, and on the days it's raining, it's all soggy and mushy. The ground is different temperatures. Ah, it is just so yummy. And of course, there's that whole grounding. You know, there is an energy exchange there. Matter of fact, sometimes if you're feeling a little toxic, well, a shower, washing your aura is very helpful. You know, running some water through your aura can really brighten things up. But walking, you know, like to me sometimes I'm just feeling like, ugh, like I need to dump. Walking out on my lawn and very consciously thinking, you know, it's like you have like minor chakras in the palms of your hand. You also have minor chakras at your feet. Specifically at kidney 1. I think it's known as the bubbling spring. The Chinese have very poetic names for the various acupuncture points that besides being quite aesthetically pleasing to read, actually give quite a bit of information, like the bubbling spring. That's where the Jing energy, there are different kinds of energy in Chinese medicine. And in, of course, Ayurvedic medicine, where Chinese medicine came from. Ayurveda is the kind of mother of that system. But grounding is really, really important. And of course, you know, there are grounding beds and stuff, but I mean, I'm fortunate enough where I can get up, walk through the kitchen and out a back door, and you know, clear the concrete porch and then be on grass. You know, it's interesting, Niche. I mean, between the meridian system and you know, the doshas. I mean, I wouldn't know how to conceive of the anatomical and energetic body system without those concepts. And it was really interesting when I was in massage school, because it wasn't that long ago, and sitting in anatomy and physiology class and learning, you know, having a really good intellect and a very well exercised left brain. You know, sitting there and taking in all the science, and at the same time watching all the mystery being that kind of came out through my own knowing, and also knowing about Chinese medicine and Ayurveda. So yeah, the China, and even when like body aches and pains, like if I get, you know, a pain somewhere, it's always along what meridian did it occur on. So, you know, maybe something is going on over in my stomach area, something I'm, you know, I go up the, you know, on the outside part of the shin, which is known as the lateral part of the body. That's the outside, and that's where the stomach meridian is, on the leg. And, you know, you just rub on that a little bit, and it's amazing how it can clear things up. I mean, I address so many of the little aches, pains, flutterings, or whatever, by treating the meridians. And it's just brilliant. Well, bitter medicine, Mari, is specifically for the wood element, which is in Western traditions might correspond more to ether, but in the Chinese it's called wood, and wood is the gallbladder and the liver, and so it is the bitters. What's good about bitters is they help stimulate the liver to produce bile. Bile is produced in the liver and stored in the gallbladder. The whole purpose of the gallbladder is to have a little pouch that can hold the bile that is produced in the liver. And what does bile? Bile is an emulsifier. When you eat fatty foods, the bile is released into the stomach to emulsify the fats, that is, to break them up. And yeah, bitter is powerful because the liver is actually considered the most important organ in the Chinese system. It is the general. You know, it kind of like it has the most agency. So there we can see why bitters are a powerful medicine and an important medicine, and it's the medicine that it's probably bitter medicines that were most responsible for the creation of pills. I mean, I remember back in the days when I was kind of a practicing herbalist, and would consult with people for them trying to use it as part of their health management. And I really kind of gave up, because sometimes I would have herbs, and I go, well, this herb here and this herb and this, and I would tell them what was in it, how it would help, why they would need it, and then almost invariably, more times than not, the question was, well, how does it taste? And remember I said in the beginning, I said there's no stupid questions, but there are confused questions. Well, that kind of question is starting to just about to cross the line to stupid. You're talking about somebody's health, and they're asking you, how does it taste? How did we go from health to cuisine? I mean, really, if we're talking about health and then somebody says, how does it taste? We're not talking about health anymore. We're talking about cuisine. Cuisine is about taste. Now, health can be about taste, where if you understand that what bitters will do, but if you're giving somebody a bitter, they're going to, how does it taste? It tastes bitter, as it's supposed to. Yes, it is infantile. It is. And unfortunately, meet most of the population. I mean, I've been participating in a lot of live chats lately, a lot. And I'm going to tell you, it's just, they go, oh, it's top of the hour. Yeah, diaper check. There's a lot of loaded diapers in here. Please, can we get a quick cleanup in every aisle? But there is no question that there has been great efforts to infantilize populations. Now, the fact that their efforts have been as successful as they are, I don't put on the cabal. I mean, they're a creepy, shitty bunch. They're going to do fucked up things. So, but they're a small group. So I don't, I expect them to behave really poorly. But their success rate, how successful they were at infantilizing so many millions of people is upsetting. The United States does have quite a bit of young souls, so that might be part of the explanation. I mean, I'm not a palm reader. I would never call myself that, but I get a lot of information from palms, and one of the things you can tell by looking at a palm is, shall we say, the sophistication. And it's amazing how many palms in America look more like fingerprints than hands. Not a whole lot going on there. I have never tasted Vegemite. I've certainly heard about it. I used to watch MTV, Men at Work, Vegemite sandwich. Men at Work was pretty funny. Not, decent music, but funny. They made funny videos. Be interesting to read the ingredients on Vegemite. I mean, I can, with a name like Vegemite, one might guess that it has, I don't know, a thicker form of V8 juice. Yeah, what I've been eating by the teaspoonful lately is raw almond butter. And what I really have, like, the organic blackberries here have recently been really well priced. It's just like under $3. It's like $2.49 for, the regular variety, and it's been $2.79 for the organic ones, and they have been delicious and sweet. And so one of the things I've really have liked was, a little almond butter, and this is unsalted almond butter. So, for some it might be a little bland, but I have my Bragg's aminos if I want to do something with it. And so I like to kind of like take a teaspoon of the almond butter, wait for some saliva to get in there, and so it's not, get it, so it's, you're not trying to swallow it whole. And then after I kind of have all that almond butter in my mouth, have like, 4 blackberries, kind of change the palate a little bit, get those kind of little acids in there to help dissolve some of the fat in the almond butter. And I keep my Bragg's right here. There we go. There it is. Yeah, that's one of the delights. So I didn't go out to the store. I don't like to go out, I go out to the store every couple of days, and sometimes I buy stuff, and if I don't eat it, it gets thrown away, so I've been buying one at a time. But oh my, almond butter and nice organic blackberries that are really, sweet. You know what, Blue Bud? I would probably guess your liver has recovered, because mine did. I mean, when I was in my 30s, I remember one time I worked for Suffolk County, and they'd had a blood drive, and with the Red Cross, and I went and gave my blood. I used to give blood fairly regularly, but this was during my heavy drinking days. The Red Cross sent me back a letter saying, please do not donate your blood to us anymore, and you might want to see what liver disease you have. I knew what liver disease I had. I had acute alcoholic hepatitis, which is what happens when you drink all the time. I mean, if somebody accidentally tapped me like underneath my right side rib and created any pressure, even if I put my own hand and tapped myself my liver too much, I might throw up. I mean, my liver was like ready to explode. So I would say that if that liver recovered, and it has recovered, I've had blood, before I stopped seeing doctors, I had some blood tests and there was nothing wrong with my liver. So I would say, Blue Bud, that yes, I think your liver will, if it's not fully healed, will get there. The liver will stay healthy as long as if you're not beating it up all the time. It really is an incredible organ. It regenerates great. Okay. I'm not sure what's going on with my stream here. Okay, I'm back. My stream went down for me. I wasn't able to put anything in the chat or anything. Wow. Yeah, I had. That's what I did. I refreshed. YouTube is apparently going through a lot of buffering issues. I haven't really watched one live stream that didn't have some buffering issues. And I think it's because more and more people are live streaming. And so obviously, it just, as long as it stays up. Callan Lee, it's interesting. I had a fuse go out in my room, which shut my computer down unexpectedly, and I lost a lot of my passwords. Matter of fact, I lost all passwords, but most of them I know. But I never knew my my Steemit password because it kind of got loaded in. I don't even remember what email I used. But anyway, I'm locked out of my Steemit account. I can't get in. And their passwords look almost like a Bitcoin blockchain wallet number. But I don't know if anybody who's Callan, I know that you know a lot about Steemit. I don't know. Well, we'll talk. I just wanted to let you know I want to be getting in a hold of you and see what repair can be done. Okay, all right, that's great. I mean, again, I will email you and set up a Zoom call so that we can go through it. Thank you. You've been the best, Callan. As far as when it comes to Steemit and helping, I've never met a more helpful person. I really mean that. Yeah, Bluebud, I have to stay. I mean, I was a really, really bad alcoholic. Alcohol now scares the shit out of me. Because I had stopped drinking for 13 years while I was I quit drinking, and that broke up my third marriage. I was unmarried for 13 years, got married again, and was drinking on my wedding night. If you hear what you hear in the background here is probably my my digital Tampura. And usually the TV doesn't get picked up on this mic. It's one of the reasons I use this mic. And I did mute all my other stuff, which is good. But I do have roommates that have their TV set up right against this wall right here, and the wall does bring things through. But usually my good mic, which I use, blocks that out. My normal mic, the one that my camera is attached to, that picks up all kinds of ambient sounds. Well, it's funny. You said, like Bluebud, you said your memory for guitar is vastly improved. Mine, after I kind of came out of my second bout of drinking, which lasted, I guess, from 2001 into 2010. So it was like another 9 years. And that wasn't solid drinking. Before I quit drinking the first time, I don't know if I had been sober in a decade. I mean, I used to wake up to pee and have a beer. I mean, I was seriously out of control. But when I was playing some guitar, but I did notice that my memory was failing. And when I started playing guitar again and having to remember songs and things, my memory came back, and it restored my memory. So it's really amazing what music can do for us, and not destroying brain cells through massive alcohol consumption. Alcohol consumption definitely will help. But I got to tell you, I mean, it was interesting. I guess PBS or I think it's PBS, because my roommate was telling me about it, and it started off with songwriters. They started off with Mac Davis, who's in his 70s, and he looked great and spoke well. And I'm realizing now that doing something that requires the amount of thinking, of especially learning new songs, is a great way of holding on to your memory. It's a case of use it or lose it. And during the couple of years I just kind of was coasting on my brain cells, no question I lost some capacity. But as soon as I started reusing that capacity, the capacity increased and is now largely restored. In my 20s, even though I never went to an audition sober, but I had such a like a steel trap memory where people could like show me the chords of the song. I'd write them down on a piece of paper. The very part of like kind of like just writing it to paper made a secondary impression, and I could like learn a set list in an hour. So I think a lot of people sometimes go, "Oh man, he certainly likes his booze, but boy, he can play." And I could. Yeah, I'm kind of mindful of if the TV, I kind of pick my spots. Obviously, Monday nights I don't get to pick my spots, but for some reason, whatever they're watching tonight isn't too loud. It varies, but there is a subwoofer right against my wall, and when they have something on, it's got lots of those sub-frequencies, which is the newer stuff. In the old days, they weren't subwoofers, so they didn't add that into the material. Now they actually add stuff that is in that kind of below 40 hertz. 40 hertz is roughly the low string on a bass guitar. It's a low note. I say roughly 40 hertz because in 440, 42 hertz is what an E string is. In the tuning I use 432, it's going to be just a little bit lower. So I'd say around 40 hertz. Yeah, it was interesting. I was thinking, remember I was talked about I might do a guitar speaker, a Weber guitar speaker video, because I want to do some of that stuff. But the TV was on, and I wasn't going to, I don't know. And then I actually was gearing up to do it, and I put on the camera, and I looked like such shit. Then my vanity just kind of tanked and went like, no, we're not going to make a video looking like that. Yeah, and the funny thing, Eddie Van Halen is an Aquarian like myself. I tend to smile a lot when I play too. Just like him. I have a lot of fun when I play. So much fun. And that's one of the things. I mean, I think my first music video, I want to promote some new stuff that Weber put out, and maybe I'll play my guitar a little bit. But then I'm going to make a few speaker type things, and I'll play my guitar and get that up there, just pieces and parts, and it'll be fun. Yeah, alcohol is a mean demon. As one mean demon. And you know, it's all fed by inner pain. Well, yeah, you do get, when you drink, you get possessed. You open that portal, and, you know, if you drink enough, like that portal is open day and night. And you get company. You will get company. Matter of fact, to drink that much is basically screaming for company. Hey, can you guys join me in here? Really. Like I said, that's why they call it spirits. Or, I don't know if that's why they call it spirits, but if you look a little deeper, you'll see that that word has multiple applications. Because part of the spirits is the fact that it's, in many ways, it's making alcohol is very much like getting essential oils. You have to distill it. Okay, Tamu, thank you always for joining us. And I look forward to you being with others of our group. Yeah, I've been in bars where where people come in for their first drink. Why they don't have it at home, I never quite understood. And I remember hands that could barely get that first shot to the lips. I mean, I know what it's like to shake. I've had the shakes, but I never. Usually, I have. I keep. I keep a stash at home so that I didn't get that bad. So kind of, because every once in a while I would try to dry out, but once the shaking started, it was like, nah, this is annoying. But usually before the shaking started, the postnasal drip started. So then you get this postnasal drip that would make you hack and cough, and then I would cough, and my diaphragm slamming up against my liver would make me throw up. And so, man, drinking was a rough ride, a really, really rough ride. And it's all connected to inner pain. And that's why when I quit drinking, to stay sober, I had to get unmarried, because I saw the pattern. I certainly love the ladies, admire them, adore them. I'm doing them a favor by being MGTOW. Should keep me off a few dartboards. Funny, I clicked on an arbitrary Nag Hammadi page, and it opened straight up into the Gospel of Thomas. Anybody interested in a little Nag Hammadi Gospel of Thomas? Hit us with some Thomas. Okay. And this looks to be fairly intact. So, with a lot of the Nag Hammadi texts, because, they were on goatskin or parchment, sometimes had words missing. All right. These are the secret sayings that the living Jesus spoke and Didymus Judas Thomas recorded. And he said, now these don't have numbers, so this is number 1. And he said, whoever discovers the interpretation of these sayings will not taste death. Number 2, Jesus said, those who seek should not stop seeking until they find. When they find, they will be disturbed. When they are disturbed, they will marvel and will reign over all. And after they have reigned, they will rest. I like that. Jesus said, if your leaders say to you, look, the kingdom is in the sky. And now, in this case, they actually put fathers in parentheses. So I don't know that the original text had the word father there, because they're putting it in parentheses. So I'm going to read it without that. Look, the kingdom is in the sky. Then the birds of the sky will precede you. So Jesus said, if your leaders say to you, look, the kingdom is in the sky, then the birds of the sky will precede you. Ooh, that's a good one. If they say to you, it is in the sea, then the fish will precede you. Rather, the kingdom is within you, and it is outside you. So I think that's very interesting, because look, the kingdom is in the sky. Well, we know what that is. The kingdom is in the sea. That might be Yankee. But if the kingdom is within you and it is outside you, that sounds real. That works for me. When you know yourselves, then you will be known and you will understand that you are children of the living Father. But if you do not know yourselves, then you live in poverty and you are the poverty. Number 4, Jesus said, the person in old days won't hesitate to ask a little child 7 days old about the place of life, and that person will live. I like that one. For many said the first will be last and will become a single one. Number 5, Jesus said, know what is in front of your face, and what is hidden from you will be disclosed to you. Ooh, I like that a lot. Basically, unpack what is sitting there in front of your face, waiting to be unpacked, and then the rest will come. For there is nothing hidden that will not be revealed, and there is nothing buried that will not be raised. Number 6, his disciples asked him and said to him, do you want us to fast? How should we pray? Should we give to charity? What diet should we observe? Jesus said, don't lie and don't do what you hate, because all things are disclosed before heaven. After all, there is nothing hidden that will not be revealed, and there is nothing covered up that will remain undisclosed. Number 7, Jesus said, lucky is the lion that the human will eat, so that the lion becomes human. And the fowl is the human that the lion will eat, and the lion still will become human. Have fun with that one. Number 8, and he said, the person is like a wise fisherman who cast his net into the sea and drew it up from the sea full of little fish. Among them, the wise fisherman discovered a fine large fish. He threw all the little fish back into the sea and easily chose the large fish. Anyone here with 2 good ears better listen. Ooh, I like that one a lot. I like that one a lot. Because to me, that speaks a lot of what I talk about, archontic detail obsession. So, cast his net in the sea, drew up a whole bunch of little fish. Went and looked for what mattered. Took it out and threw away all that small stuff. Well, returned all that small stuff. I like that one. Anyone here with 2 good ears had better listen. Number 9, Jesus said, look, the sower went out and took a handful of seeds and scattered them. Some fell on the road, and the birds came and gathered them. Others fell on rock, and they didn't take root in the soil and didn't produce heads of grain. Others fell on thorns, and they choked the seeds, and worms ate them. Others fell on good soil, and it produced a good crop. It yielded 60 per measure and 120 per measure. Okay. I'm guessing there's some code there that we don't need to break down here. Code based on the numbers. Plus also the fact that, the kind of thing, well, if you have seed, yeah, you need to put it in good ground. Jesus said, I have cast fire upon the world, and look, I am guarding it until it blazes. And I like that too, because once again, the world and the earth are 2 different things. The earth is our home, where we live, where we arose, and the world is this thing that we cope with. The systems, the legality, the rulers, which in Greek translates to archons. I have cast fire upon the world, and look, I am guarding it until it blazes. Okay. Number 11, Jesus said, this heaven will pass away, and the one above it will pass away. The dead are not alive, and the living will not die. During the days when you ate what is dead, you made it come alive. When you are in the light, what will you do? On the day when you were 1, you became 2. And when you became 2, what will you do? Number 12. The disciples said to Jesus, we know that you are going to leave us. who will be our leader?" And Jesus said to them, "No matter where you are to go to James the just, for whose sake heaven and earth came into being." I need some ginger tea to settle my stomach after that one. And lucky 13, there's more, but I'll stop at 13. Jesus and 12 disciples. Jesus said to his disciples, "Compare me to something and tell me what I am like." Simon Peter said to him, "You are like a just messenger." Matthew said to him, "You are like a wise philosopher." Thomas said to him, "Teacher, my mouth is utterly unable to say what you are like." Jesus said, "I am not your teacher. Because you have drunk, you have become intoxicated from the bubbling spring that I have tended." And he took him and withdrew. And he spoke 3 sayings to him. Oh, I guess he took Thomas. So he took Thomas and he withdrew and spoke 3 sayings to him. When Thomas came back to his friends, they asked him, "What did Jesus say to you?" Thomas said to them, If I tell you one of the sayings he spoke to me, you will pick up rocks and stone me, and fire will come from the rocks and devour you. If I tell you one of the sayings he spoke to me, you will pick up rocks and stone me, and fire will come from the rocks and devour you. Now I find that last one a little bit much, but the first part of, if I tell you one of the sayings he told me, you will stone me. So obviously Jesus laid a piece of information onto him that wasn't going to travel well. Doc, make no apologies. You are another one of the Gnostics that are here, and this is, can't you hear me, Gnostic? So Gnostics, speak up, and anybody, just speak up. We're just Gnosticking things around. So let's see what went on here. Hit us with some Thomas. Hit me with your rhythm stick. Hit me hard. Hit me quick. Now hit me. Okay. Sure. I can read it from a non-dogmatic perspective, Niche. The thing is, again, if I hear the word Gnostic, I go there and listen, and the dogma has crept into perception, and that's so that's when I make faces and stuff like that. It's because it's just like I've seen the fruit of this other stuff, and I don't like seeing. I get saddened when I hear it get mixed in with the Sophianic narrative. Oh yeah, I mean, I've mentioned I think I'm a harsher critic of the text of the Nag Hammadi text than even John Lash, and he calls the Nag Hammadi text a hot mess.
Looking at the picture, you can see how devastated he would have been. Almost every single element of this portrait.
But I have to admit, of that, of what I read, I mean, much of what I read, like I said, with the exception of a line here and a phrase there, I liked it. It was good stuff.
The rose symbolises yours, Principal Secretary of State. Everything tells you this is effectively the most powerful man in the land. After
But
the Queen.
yeah, I mean, there's definitely some stuff that's come to me in my journeyings, and I've only shared it with, I don't know, 3 or 4 people, so that people won't stone me. You know, of course, there'll be cyber stones. And I forgot, I was in a live chat, and I just kind of decided to LARP because there were so many keyboard warriors there, so I put on all caps. I wrote something like, "I am a mighty keyboard warrior. Every keystroke is a thunderbolt." Wahahaha! And of course, they ignored my SBS. But I was slumming it, sleeping around. Well, Raksha greatly enabled my ability to go slumming. And I thank him for that. And nothing you have said has ever offended me. And again, when I go and Doc, when I watch your live streams and I watch people respond to you, you really reach them, and that touches me in a really beautiful way, because you have a beautiful message. And I think one that's a lot easier for people to pick up on, and it's moving to Sophia's heart, which is, you know, our shared heart. Although I have to admit, the word Sophia, and more often than not, is not a name for me. I never forget that it means wisdom. Wisdom, that word, wisdom, is kind of like, if I had one kernel, the real kernel of what it means for me to be Gnostic, is that wisdom is the essence of it all. You know, pursuit of knowledge without applied wisdom is kind of, you know, often produces little to no fruit. I know what it's like to just lump up the knowledge. I have, you know, again, having a curious mind and a certain amount of intellect. I could, you know, just devoured the knowledge. But it wasn't until I really started pondering and embracing wisdom as what was the desired result from accumulating knowledge, that everything clicked. Once you click into wisdom, everything falls into place. You know, yeah. Kind of works like that for me. And the other night, Doc, apparently you did a live stream, and I was doing I was editing some photos, and so I wasn't. When I do that, I don't see any of my screen. So the fact that a little one had come up in my inbox saying Doc Illusion is now live, I missed. And when I came out of my editing and I saw it, I clicked on it, and you had ended about 5 minutes before I got there. Actually, and the same thing happened with Nox Menti this week. I've been trying to, I might want to get some things down. I have all kinds of pictures that I download from mines, and they're really, some of them are bigger than I want. Some of them don't have any names on them, so they're just the numbers. So I was just kind of, getting my things in order. And I guess I had started, I don't know, about a half an hour before Nox Mente began. Kind of completely went into no time. Came out and realized, oh my God, it's like, a little bit after 10. Well, the shows usually run a little bit longer than an hour. I got there and the show was over, and unfortunately I missed it. Yeah, Pistis' confidence. I forget the person last night who was giving a little bit of. It was. I think I got it on the ZEG network, whatever the heck it is. And he used another word that I went like, oh, that's not the one that I know, but I like it. And I'm trying to recall it. I think it was kind of like potent, like kind of the potent wisdom or something. But I have to admit, his general delivery, I don't know, it wasn't so tasty. I mean, I actually fell asleep to it, because that was the whole point. Was something that would be pleasant enough and familiar enough for me to enjoy, kind of coasting through it. I just feel that he wasn't the most eloquent speaker either. Still, it's just like after spending a day kind of like in this crazy world and following certain things that, there's a certain obsession. Everybody might have heard of Q. QAnon. Writing all kinds of things. Well, there's quite a few people involved in that. And that is a fascinating clusterfuck to watch. Thank you, Nish. So I think I will keep this one to 2 hours, because there was a couple of times there I was really on fire. It's usually during this moon cycle when the moon is decreasing. I'm not quite as bubbling as I am. Once we hit the new moon, I should start to froth again. So this will be towards the end. Lee, I'm not sure it's a LARP. It's kind of interesting, and there's a whole group of people who are quite fascinated, and it was actually in that live stream where I did that keyboard. I am the mighty keyboard warrior. My every keystroke is a thunderbolt. Because a lot of the people in these chats, another one I did, you put in quotes. I went flexing my powerful cyber muscles. Because it's really pretty funny, some of this stuff that people, all this, I don't know, piss and vinegar and a sense of doing something as you're sitting there, mangling the English language. Because again, a lot of the people who go for this stuff. Not sure what to say. But if the way they express themselves, their spelling and language is any indication, oh my. The only good news is that, all these centuries of inbreeding by the people who, think, who bloodline is everything, that inbreeding hasn't worked out so well for you guys, has it? You're about down to our level. Just about. And there's a lot more of us. I think as somebody very gracefully put it, we could throw you all in the pool and drown you with our urine. It's a thought. But then it's funny, you know, see somebody go, oh, I think there might be CIA in here. And I'm going, yeah, they must be beating their head against the wall. Goes, how does a bunch of dumb fucks like this even think they're going to get anything accomplished? I mean, it's pretty goofy. Oh, I'm watching myself on replay. I can't get very animated. It really is funny to watch myself on a replay. Oh, don't want to bring the bottle here. So anyway, anybody got any kind of, you know, want to start throwing kisses and cyber hugs? Yeah. And the other thing I got to make sure with you, Doc, is that I know I'm subscribed, but I got to make sure. Pretty sure I got that bell rung. But sometimes you do have that, and then you go back and you realize, hey, what happened? I seem to not. Those lines aren't there. So some people say YouTube is playing games. Maybe they are, but I also know they're constantly fiddling with their algorithmic settings. So sometimes I think it just is some sloppy coding that creates these things, and it isn't really quite like let's go unsubscribe people. Moose has been amazing lately. Vacation does you well. Okay, so it should be an interesting night. I will be seeking out a person or two to unwind with. Just putting a message out there. Some of you know how to say hello to me. Oh, I keep on raising this thing up to my lips. I don't want to be drinking jars on camera. Okay, I guess so. With Moose Hooves for all. And yes, we will collaborate. Doc, I know you've had hardware issues, and that I guess you're using your phone to do your stuff, and that's a little compromising for you to interact. But when you get a little bit more set up, we will find a way to do it. And I really think that would be something very special to do. All right, so much love. Seek wisdom. Seek wisdom instead of knowledge. I mean, knowledge is part of it, but try to, like, you know, kind of, wisdom is the utility of knowledge instead of just books on a shelf. You know, knowledge is kind of like, you know, just like I have books in crates downstairs in the basement, but I also have some books right over here on my shelf that I use quite frequently. And to me, that's kind of like, you know, so all those crates are my knowledge, but this little selection over here that I use, that's my wisdom. So, yes, pursue wisdom, hold on to love, hold on to enough sanity. I think half sane is sufficient. And see you next week. And if in between these live streams you see me put up something wild about Weber speakers, it's because that's one of the other places I'm going to go. Yes, Callan, we will be speaking. And yes, Cyberhog Saul. So let me go into my little software here. I'll hit